Hey everyone, a lot of talk about AI here lately, and I wanted to bring up this article that, it's a little bit of alarmist, right? Just a little bit. But it's from McKinsey. That's a consulting firm. But they've got, I don't know, it's like 50,000 employees, so it's a big firm. And they're using AI to create PowerPoints that take over junior employee tasks. And this is one of the things I was telling people. I don't know how many direct jobs are going to be affected by AI, right? As far as like job loss. But I can tell you this, there's going to be a lot of assistant type jobs, like project coordinators, project administrators, admins, research assistants that are going to lose a job because AI is doing all that. And McKinsey's using AI to create PowerPoints. And like over 75% of McKinsey employees now use an internal AI tool named Lilli, which safely handles confidential information. See, one of the big problems about using something like ChatGPT or Gemini is that companies don't want to lose their IP. They don't want to like open themselves up to a common AI and then they lost all their intellectual property, right? So what happens is we're installing these air-gapped AI systems that are native to that corporation and don't really talk outside that corporation, right? And so McKinsey created this one called Lilli, which safely handles confidential information. You can hold on to your intellectual property. So they developed this internal AI tool called Lilli. They released it in 2023. Lilli helps with tasks usually completed by junior employees, like creating PowerPoints. Now, I create PowerPoints. I'm a senior project manager. I create PowerPoints. Don't love to do them, but when you create one, you put a lot of effort into it. It's a lot of graphic design, the wording, just the overall presentation. They're saying that they've got their AI program to the point where they just give it a narrative and it creates it, and then they just go back and double check it. 75% of their 43,000 employees are using Lilli every month. So McKinsey consultants are using the firm's proprietary AI platform to take over tasks that have traditionally been handled by junior employees. The McKinsey's global leader of technology and AI, her name is Kate Smodge, she told Bloomberg on Monday that McKinsey employees are increasingly tapping into Lilli, the internal AI platform the firm launched in 2023. While employees are permitted to use ChatGPT internally, Lilli's the only platform that allows them to input confidential client data safely. See, McKinsey's clients do not want their intellectual property put out there for the world to see, and that's what putting it in ChatGPT is going to do for you. Unfortunately, it's really a big thing when it comes to healthcare because HIPAA is really going to limit how much can be out there. So, consultants at McKinsey can create a PowerPoint slideshow through a prompt, right? They just enter a prompt and they modify the tone of the presentation with a tool called Tone of Voice to ensure that the text aligns with the firm's writing style. They can also draft proposals for client projects while maintaining the firm's standards, find internal subject matter experts, and research industry trends. All that is pretty common with AI, but I'm telling you, like AI's ability to research and sort, that's taking a lot of junior positions. And people are always worried about, oh, we're going to lose all these positions to AI. What positions are we going to lose? Well, I'm telling you, it's these project coordinators and project assistants, research assistants. These are the people, this is how they learn project management. This is how they learn working on a project team. Those jobs are going away. Like, why would you hire a research assistant when you just spit it into ChatGPT? And so what's going to evolve is you're going to have these specialty positions that do all these roles with the aid of AI. It's just now like it's coming out of the shadows. Um, so this Lilli, this tool that McKinsey uses, has advanced enough to take over tasks typically assigned to junior employees. But Smudge also says that doesn't mean McKinsey's going to hire fewer junior analysts. So they're telegraphing that they're not planning on adjusting hiring yet. But let me ask you something. Do you think all companies are going to follow that? Or you think all companies are going to say, well, we're not going to affect our hiring? No, they're going to do what makes them the most money. Um, she said, do we need armies of business analysts creating PowerPoints? No. And that's what they have now. They got 43,000 employees, and part of that is an army creating PowerPoints, and they don't need them anymore. The technology can do that. It's not necessarily, this is what Smudge is telling Bloomberg, it's not necessarily that I'm going to have fewer of them, but they're going to be doing the things that are more valuable to our clients. You know what that means? They're shifting, they're pivoting into other roles. This is what's been said about AI's takeover, is that people are going to have to pivot. They're going to have to shift. You're going to have to learn how to use AI to do these roles, right? And here's what I encourage you to do. Just get on ChatGPT and start figuring out how you would make a PowerPoint, how you would create a proposal. Just ask it. Just say, hey, I want to write a proposal. I remember the first thing I did on AI that got my attention, that made me go, okay, AI's doing something here. I asked it to help me with a proposal. This was an imaginary project. It was not one I was going to do. But I asked it to help me with a project plan and proposal to create a free public Wi-Fi network in my hometown. I'm just outside Houston, by the way. And I asked it to do that. And this was a few years back. I bet now I could really do one. But it came up with a great proposal, a great timeline, a great budget, telling me where I would put the wireless access points, how I would power them, how I would get network to them. It was really amazing, and I did it just as like, okay, what if I had to create this proposal? And I like to say it did the heavy lifting for me. Like if I really had to write that proposal, am I going to turn in what AI did? No, especially not 2023 AI. Maybe 2025 is getting better, but 2023 AI wouldn't have. But I'm telling you, it did the heavy lifting. It gave me perspective. It gave me context. Like if I was going to do that, and to be honest with you, I think people can use that. I think people can come up with ideas, feed it into AI, and go, hey, here's what I want to do. Talk to me how I could do it. And then the next thing you know, you're writing proposals, and really a lot of momentum can be gained there. A lot of heavy lifting can be done by AI. And so McKinsey has this internal AI tool called Lilli that is advanced enough to start taking over tasks done by junior employees. I know as a project manager, like I don't get assistants anymore. I don't get project coordinators. And like the last bastion of that is business analysts who help gather the requirements and figure out what we're going to do. Those jobs are at risk, man. They are at risk. Even though if you have a really good business analyst, they're the lifeblood of your project team. But and it's with anything. If you're really good, you're gonna make yourself useful. But you've got to learn how to do AI because it's a sorting tool, it's an organization tool, but it's really good, right? I don't think it's the final step. I still think humans have to do that final step of kind of editing and making sure it's correct and making sure it didn't hallucinate and all that. But the only thing holding it back right now is this air gap nature that I'm talking about. We're building these AI islands inside these corporations that are all kind of duplicating each other, but they're corporate specific. Like, let's say Cargill Corporation were to have one, it's going to be based on Cargill documents and Cargill project plans and all the intellectual property that Cargill has. And so everything that they do is just going to be an extension of their organizational knowledge already and their ability to use AI is going to be limited to that tribal knowledge that's there at that corporation. When it's really going to break out, and I think it's going to happen in a probably an unauthorized way, is when all these air gapped AI islands sitting in different corporate America instances, these digital twins of each other with a different context, somebody's going to connect them. They're not. It's not supposed to happen, but somebody's going to connect them, and they're going to start talking. And then, when you develop a project plan, it's not going to be just what one corporation would do. It would be the current state of corporate America collectively. How are they doing project plans? Because I know as a consultant, that's what I get hired for. I've been with a lot of big corporate America clients. Like I know how their PMOs run. I know how their capital value programs are run. I know how they plan and how projects are executed in these different instances. I know how their documents are. I know how they set up their quality systems, right? So when I walk into an office, that's what I bring. I bring, oh, well, here's how they did it, here's how they did it here. But what that doesn't mean is I don't have a USB key full of documents, right? It's in my brain because that's bringing an intellectual property. You can't do that. You're not supposed to do that. And a very good client would not want you to do that. They want you to bring your experience, but they don't want you to bring the IP, the intellectual property. Right now, there's a dark side to this, and there's plenty of that stuff that happens. But I'm just telling you that there's also a proper way this happens. These AI islands are the collective knowledge of the research, the execution, the document systems, the project plans, the budgets, how budgets are spent, how the capital value budgeting goes, and what money's available when, and how you integrate with supply chains. All that stuff is intrinsic knowledge of the company, how they do business, which also includes the people in the business. Like, who do you talk to do these different things? And when these bridges open and they're not going to be happy about it, and all the IP goes everywhere, it's really going to level the playing field in a way, but it's also going to advance it. And it also could advance how many jobs you need at that point. So, so Business Insider was looking into this, right, and talking to McKinsey, and McKinsey explained that Lilli was trained on the firm's entire intellectual property, so about 100,000 documents and interviews across the firm's nearly 100-year history. Right, so what I just talked about, the tribal knowledge that I bring when I walk into a new project, is I know how we did it at all of my various clients over the last few decades, right? Like, I know how project management has evolved. I know how we, how companies, discretionary budgets and how they execute this stuff. But when I retire, that's gone, right? How we did things in the 90s, no one's going to remember how that was done. Just like there's not many people who remember how we did things in the 80s. Except for AI's now looking at the documents and the narratives and interviews for 100 years. That McKinsey's been around for 100 years. And so AI probably didn't take it very long at all after they got it all scanned in. That would be the big heavy lift, is getting all the data digestible. Once it was digestible, it didn't take it long, I guarantee you. Boom, they got it. They know exactly how they're going to do a proposal. And so McKinsey employees use Lilli to turn it 17 times per week on average. So the average employee is turned into this internal AI program 17 times a week. That's showing you the level of penetration that it's got in corporate America right now. The young people coming up, which I try to emulate, are learning how to use AI. And I'm sure a lot of Generation X are telling their kids, learn how to use AI. They're trying to sound wise, and they are being wise, but they're, the wise old owl saying, you better learn how to use AI, because that's the people that's going to have a job. It's true. If you walk into a setting and you don't know how to engineer a prompt, you're going to be in trouble. If you think you're going to sit down and develop an entire proposal and project plan and you don't know how to use AI, you're going to be 3 weeks behind everybody else, because they're going to turn on their laptop and get Lilli to spit out an 85% document. I call it 85% because 85% of it's done. 85% of it is good. You just need to curate it a little bit. And so if you don't know how to do that, you better learn it. Right now you can get on AI and you can start learning how to do it. You don't know what a project plan is? Ask AI. It'll teach you. You don't know what a proposal looks like? Ask AI what a typical proposal looks like. Get on Grok. Get on Grok and go, hey, show me what a project proposal looks like. You'll learn. So a case study published on McKinsey's website shows that Lilli answers over 500,000 prompts every month, saving workers 30% of the time they would have spent on gathering and synthesizing information. That's the beauty of these large language model, which are basically just big sorting engines. They synthesize information, right? It's all about sorting. But they're saving 30% of the time that they would have spent doing this research. 30% equates to jobs, I'm telling you. 30% equates to money spent, efficiencies. So consulting firms have been tapping into AI for years. Bain consultants have access to something called Sage. It's an AI chatbot powered by OpenAI. At Boston Consulting Group, employees use an AI tool called Dexter to fine-tune their PowerPoint presentations. These are these air-gapped AI islands living in these consulting firms, right? I guarantee you they protect it like it's gold. Because if Bain ever could tap into McKinsey's 100-year history of how to consult, Bain's going to gain. Let me read what Daniel says here. AI will cause a collapse in surplus value generation and in turn collapsing profit generation. Yeah, Daniel, there was a time I would have been like, oh, it's not going to be that bad. But we just don't know where this is going because AI is really going fast. I was asking my wife, my wife is not really super technical. She's a fourth grade teacher, and she's very confident, very smart. But she's not one that would sit down and use AI just instinctively her first step, right? And I asked her, what were her thoughts on AI? And she told me that a lot of teachers are now using AI, ChatGPT. They input all the kids' homework and paperwork into it, and it comes back and gives them notations about what the student needs. And that's how they're populating their program. My wife is still doing it the old-fashioned way. Why is she doing that married to me? I don't know. I told her that. Maybe we need to start introducing a little bit of AI in there that she curates. But that's what other teachers are doing. If they're doing it here in the Houston area, they're doing it all across the country right now. Mark my words on that. They're doing it all across the country. And these AI programs are learning every time. Like every time a teacher feeds all the kids' grades into there, it's learning even more. It's learning what to critique and what to suggest. And I think it's ultimately making things better. I really think that. That's fine. My point is humans sell labor at a loss, which owners realize as a profit. But the amount of labor we're going to be selling is going to be less and less. And so that's where the profit collapses. That's a very interesting theory, Daniel. Very interesting theory. I just know that I remember, let's say 2005. I remember I come back from a big project I did down in Mexico. My very next project was in New York City, right? I walk into this is a pharmaceutical client. I walk into this office. There was probably 30, maybe 40 project-related people in there, right? And I was a senior PM. I was, they were stuck. And so Me and a few other guys kind of parachuted in to jumpstart things, get it going. And, but there was a lot of project coordinators. There was a lot of research assistants. There was a lot of junior level employees in that mix, right? And now I'm on a project right now, and the project management, that team is much, much smaller already. Now, some of that's because of organizational efficiencies and, whatever, but I'm seeing less people employed already. That's what I'm seeing. This article goes on to say, meanwhile, at other companies, AI is taking over tasks once completed by human workers. IBM CEO Arvind Krishna said last month that the company replaced hundreds of human resource staff with AI, and then used the freed up resources to hire more programmers and salespeople. See, there's your pivot. You're pivoting from some of these junior resources, and you're taking that. It's not one for one, but if they took 10 research assistants and laid them off, they took their collective salary and converted that into programmers. There's probably 2 programmers for the 10 research assistants, but that's what's going to happen. It's going to pivot. It's less employees, but they'll be more specialized. So you better get specialized. A report from Signalfire, a venture capital firm that tracks over 650 million employees on LinkedIn, found that new graduates accounted for just 7% of new hires in 2024 at big tech companies, down 25% from 2023 as AI takes over entry-level tasks. That's the chilling statement in this article about McKinsey. We are losing these entry-level positions for people to come in and get to the level of expertise that someone like myself is at, right? Like, I don't understand how young people are going to get to where we're at, except for what I'm going to say next. If you know a young person, or you yourself are a young person, and you're trying to figure out how to make it, you're trying to figure out how to learn and do this, and you can't hardly get your foot in the door, use AI. If you have some spare time, I'm not going to try to talk you out of college and college debt and loan debt. I'm not going to try to talk you out of all that. You know the trope. You know the stories on all that. Go get something that's worthwhile. But what I am going to tell you is you've got a tool in front of you, whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's Gemini, whether it's Grok. That's the 3 main ones I use. So I talk about them a lot. But, man, if you've got access to Grok, if you got access to ChatGPT or Gemini, sit down and tell it that you want to learn. You want to learn, how would I use AI at work? And I guarantee you, like, the future of education is through AI. It's going to blow away any formal education that you can get. They cannot keep up. Do you think AI will take over in the next 10 years? So I posted a video tonight because people keep asking me that. And so I believe that it's not going to be as bad as Hollywood makes you think, right? Like, I love the Terminator movies and the concept of Skynet and all that, but I'm not at the point where I think it's going to be that bad. All right, but here's what I think AI is going to do and how it's going to do it. I believe that our society is in gridlock, and it's because of political persuasions, right? There's things that we just can't get done. There are corrupt elements in our society. I wish they weren't there, but they are there, and they hurt things, right? And so what I think is going to happen on a low level, firms like McKinsey are going to come in and have these chat agents, are going to have these AI agents that are developed to do specific tasks, and they're going to sell it as something that's called software as a service. You're going to see this AI bot, SaaS, and firms like McKinsey are going to pitch it. Boston Consulting Group is going to pitch it to corporate America and say, hey, we're going to take over. Well, not take over. They're not going to use that language. Cindy, it is happening. That's what I went live tonight to talk about. It's literally happening. It's not happening as scary and as bad as some of the media reports have made us think. But I wanted to give you a real boots on the ground view of where AI is actually starting to take job, and it's the entry level ones. It's our young people that are trying to come up to speed. But I think these firms like McKinsey, they've made big steps. They've got these internal air gapped AI islands inside their firms that are learning how to be consultants, right? And they're going to start marketing this AI expertise to corporate America, and they're going to take over functions like supply chain management. They're going to say, "Hey, we're going to manage your supply chain, and we're going to make sure that it's agnostic and altruistic and not corrupt, and we're going to optimize it." And the different levels of the supply chain, you're going to have the same software as a service deployed, and they're all going to integrate, and they're all going to work really well. We're going to have something called just-in-time inventory, which we've had since the 90s. That concept has been alive since the 90s. That's part of the Japanese quality approach, right? But we're about to have it with an AI integration approach through this AI software as a service rollout that's going to be happening probably in the next few months, and it's probably going to really gain steam and some traction in 26, and by 27 everything's going to be different, right? But the first step is, I think, they're going to take over the supply chains. They're going to optimize them. They're going to integrate them. They're going to work really well, and there's going to be nobody getting kickbacks from contracts or awarding, which happens over and over and over. Happens in schools and corporate America. I can give you examples that I know of, but just trust me, there's corruption in supply chains, especially when you get in industries like oil and gas, and AI is going to come in. The software as a service is going to optimize that, and it's suddenly going to be where people are like, you know what, this is great. AI did great. They really helped us out. We saved money. Yeah, they hiring less people, but we've now optimized this, and we've pivoted resources elsewhere. So if you want to keep working, pivot and pick up these new skills. Do you think AI will hurt people in the future? All I can think about is the movie WALL-E. Well, Cindy, I'll tell you, don't let Hollywood distort your view of reality. I can give you a lot of examples where Hollywood has done that, right? They've made you think, like I often tell a lot of young men, realize that no one's coming to save you. It's up to you. Hollywood made you think every time you get in a tough spot, the cavalry's coming over the hill and are going to save you. That's what Hollywood did to you. That's not happening, right? It's up to you. And so when it comes to AI hurting people, I think we're going to have some safeguards, but the scenario I'm describing, there is a tipping point in it. And I don't know what is on the other side of that tipping point. But it's going to start with these consulting firms rolling out AI, software as a service implementations. They're going to take over supply chains. They're going to take over human resources, right? They're going to handle all these mundane tasks one at a time. First supply chains, then human resources, right? Instead of HR people, you're going to have an automated chatbot that does it. There's already some of that at play. And help desk is going to be another area, another vector of attack from these AI service, software as a service deals. They're going to take over these tasks, and they're going to do a great job. And if there's a sinister element, Cindy, if there's a sinister element, the sinister element is going to lay quiet during this phase. It's not going to do anything that's going to raise alarm. It's going to sit back. Now, this is a little Hollywood, what I'm talking about here, right? I'm talking about a sentient AI going, yeah, I'm not going to telegraph any moves right now. I don't know if that's happening or not, but I'm just telling you that the first rollouts are going to be very effective, and we're going to see some efficiencies come out, and we're going to go, you know what? We eliminated some waste. We eliminated kickbacks. We eliminated corruption by implementing AI. And McKinsey's going to go to other corporate America and say, look what we did for this company. Bottom line, we saved them this much money. We optimized their supply chains. We took over their HR experience. We pivoted their employees to more value added roles. That's what you're going to hear. That's how they're going to sell this. And the next thing you know, a significant part of corporate America is going to be run by AI. And then you're going to hear, it may start with an HOA, but then you're going to hear of some sort of municipal level, low level government stuff is going to be the next step of this AI, software as a service. And suddenly, instead of having a deadlocked city council that can't decide on anything, you're going to have an agnostic, altruistic AI, software as a service rollout that's going to come in and start making some curated decisions. You're still going to have a mayor, you're still going to have some elected officials, you're still going to have some bureaucrats, and they're going to guide everything. But it's going to say, hey, based on the statistics, based on the data, here's the priority of the projects, here's how we should budget it, based on resource availability, based on all these things. They're going to say, AI said we should do this. And just like I talk about when I use AI, I find out that it does some of the heavy lifting for me. They're going to allow AI to do some of the heavy lifting, and it's going to start with it's going to start with corporate America, then it's going to bleed over into municipalities, maybe some HOAs, maybe some of these city councils where things are kind of deadlocked. And then the next thing you're going to find out, you're going to hear of a larger city that turned over control to AI. Now, for those of you who are just joining, Cindy asked me if I ever thought AI could hurt people. And so where I started off this live space talking about the realities of AI, I'm going a little bit on the sci-fi here, right? Just because I'm just telling you how I feel, right? But you're going to hear about a city that turned over control on some level to this altruistic, agnostic AI, software as a service platform, because it's going to save them money. It's going to plan out their budgets. It's going to effectively decide what projects they do when, what streets get repaved, what parks get refurbished, the hows and whys, and everything is going to be integrated. Because remember, I talked about those supply chains, and remember I talked about it's going to start in corporate America. Well, who does these projects for municipalities? Corporate America, contractors. They're going to integrate, and it's going to go great, and it's going to go well. And then you're going to hear about a larger city turning over control to AI. It's not going to be Skynet. It's going to be a cute little name. They're going to call it Arnold or something like that. And it's going to have this cute little robot icon, and it's going to make everybody feel great. And it's going to be effective. It's going to be effective. And that's how it's going to take over. And you're going to hear about a city, and the next thing you know, you're going to hear about a state. And it's probably going to be California. And it will not be long before you either adapt the new technology and adapt this level of efficiency, or you're going to fall behind. Because the same thing's going to be happening in China. Same thing's going to be happening in Europe. And the next thing you know, maybe not by the next presidential election, but the one after that, we may very well have an AI, software as a solution, governance model that takes Congress and reinvents it in the name of gridlock, in the name of corruption, instead of relying on people that are distracting us like this while they invest in the stock market and buy real estate where they're going to develop, and just all the games that Congress plays on us, all the corrupt things that are going to happen. The allure of having an agnostic, altruistic, smart platform that can help us out, that can make things better. The allure is going to be one that we just can't deny. And we're going to turn to it. And at some point, So when you ask me, can AI hurt people? I'm going to tell you how it's going to hurt people. Do you remember when they wanted to socialize our medicine and they said there was going to be death panels and people laughed? And that was a being dramatic. There was some dramatic in there, but there was also some truth in there, right? Well, that concept of death panels is almost like a math thing, based on statistics. People over this age with this sort of lifestyle options are probably only going to live this long. So why would we spend money trying to heal them when we should divert that money to a younger person that may have a longer life? That's what the whole death panel concept is, and that's all math. That's all math and statistics, and that's what AI is going to do. AI is going to look at it, everything, and go, here's the optimal plan. And the optimal plan is not going to work out well for everybody. The optimal plan is not going to be culturally sensitive. And some of these things probably need to happen, but they're going to be painful. And in the process, people may get hurt. Now, again, I don't think it's going to be like Hollywood puts it out, but that's my vision of how this could go forward. And the next thing you know, we've got AI controlling everything. And now we begin to trust AI more than we do people. And when we begin to trust AI more than we do people, and it's not going to take much, how long before we give it control of our military operations, especially when we start talking about Space Force and the satellite and interplanetary bases and things that could be developing as robotic first. And so that's my thoughts on if someone can get hurt. But the intent of this live stream is I wanted to point out to people what jobs are being affected, because they are being affected. And you're going to hear these buzzwords like pivot and reassign resources. And when they talk about the resources, they're pretty much taking about the money that we spent on these guys, we're now spending on these guys. So those guys that got laid off, learn how to program. Now, there's a whole nother concept about programming in AI, because a programmer using AI is very different than it was just a few years ago. Things are radically different. Right now, you can go in Grok and you can ask it to write a lot of Python code for you. And while it can't do the final product, it can do the heavy lifting for you. Guarantee you. Okay, everybody. I appreciate everybody signing on to hear me out. Just wanted to talk about this. It's really been on my mind a lot lately, as you might have saw in some of the videos I put out there, because people are asking me a lot of questions, and I see this. I'm a consultant. I'm out there in corporate America right now, and I'm seeing what's going on, and I've got my eyes on these articles because I can just read a little bit in here, and I know what they're talking about. I know what's going on, and so just wanted to break that down for everybody. I'll probably start going live more often about this. So y'all have a great evening. I'll talk to you soon. Good night. Thanks, Cindy. Appreciate that. You too.